All right, so the pan is on. Next morning. So let's see. I got the cam in place. Got the dowel pin in place. Double dowel pin deal. Got the harmonic balancer all on. This gear can and the belt will go on with this on, obviously. All right. You can take it on off. You sneak it in there, it'll come out. Okay, so the only thing you have to do is just roll this back, and then you could sneak the gear down in there. So I got a little tiny mark, so I know that's gonna be where that goes. So that's when I did that. That's still at top dead center. The gear for the belt's at top dead center, and right now this is at top dead center. The cam, the piston, everything's in the right spot, and you can see how tight the belt is now. I mean, the belt was sloppy before, so obviously it was down on power and down on everything. So you can't have that. So that's why they tell you to replace the belt at least once a year. Okay, so continuing on with this. So now we got the lifters in place. I'm gonna set up this gauge so we could see when the lifter is gonna move. We're gonna put a degree wheel on here so we know where it's moving to. And I'll show you what we're doing next. All right, so back on this. If you want to degree your cam, this is what I highly suggest you get one of these wheels. There is like, God only knows how many different wheels there are. The little wheel, if you go, I tried doing it with the little wheel. It's very confusing, so I'm gonna do it with this one. I'm gonna show you how we did it. I'm not giving you my cam numbers, okay? Ron is here. He brought coffee.
Hey, guys.
And he actually told me to use this wheel instead of the other one, so we're using this wheel. Here's what we're doing. So, make a long story short, I'm gonna read you the directions. You're gonna find top dead center first, okay? So top dead center, you could do two methods. You can do it with a dial indicator, put a dial indicator on here, get your average, and you're gonna get your top dead center. Or you can use a positive stop, okay? They call it a bridge with a little bolt through it or something, a positive stop. Either way, you need to find true top dead center, okay? Very important. Do we have true top dead center? Yes. Yes, okay? Now, once you have true top dead center, you're at top dead center here. You're gonna put your lifter in or your tool in. They make all different ones, okay? You can use this style, like this, okay? That'll go in and out. I'm doing it right on this. They make another style where it sits up high, where you put the push rod in there. Whatever method you want, as long as you're on the intake valve, okay? Now, you're on 0, and you're on bottom, okay? It's down. You're gonna turn the engine over, regular rotation. You're gonna turn the engine over until that lifter comes to its highest point. You need to watch your gauge. It's gonna start moving. When it reaches the highest point, you stop.
They call that full lift.
Okay, full lift. Then you're gonna go back 50 degrees from full lift. You set it at 0.
50,000.
50 thousandths, okay? So I don't want to confuse you because I'm already confused enough with all this crap. So this is up at full, all the way up. The lifter comes all the way up. It starts to go back down. Go back the other way, narrow it back down to your 0 and put it on 0. Put it on 0. Whatever it comes up to, when it's at the top, average it out and put it on 0.
You want to do it to show them?
No, you're gonna put it on 0. Then you're gonna go backwards. You're gonna go backwards to 50 thousandths. You're gonna go back till it reads 50 thousandths, right? Back to 50,000. Then you're gonna come over here and read whatever this says. Okay? Stop. Write the number down. You're gonna go back the same way now. You're gonna go back to the right again, regular direction, to your zero, and then keep going, and it's gonna back down to 50 again. Stop. Take your number. Take the two numbers that you just got. Add them up. Divide them by 2. And that is going to be what they call your intake lobe center line. Okay? When you have that number, whatever it is, 102, 105, 106, okay, whatever it is, that's what whatever the card tells you you're supposed to be, that's what you're supposed to be at. If it's off, then you go in here, see that? If you have a Jessel, you're going to adjust that. So we were off by what? 1.5 degree, right? No, yeah, we were off by 1.5 degree. So we fixed it, we moved it, lined that up, ran through the whole process again. It's right on the money. If you have a gear, some of them have, if you have a chain, then you have a gear that has different slots in it. You can move it. It'll say 2 degrees, 4 degrees, 6 degrees, whatever. You need to move that.
You got a keyway.
Right, you got a keyway on your lower gear. If you don't have either one, and you have a gear on the top gear, where the dowel pin goes, you drill that out, and they make little dowel. They're little eccentrics, and it'll have 1, 2, 6, whatever. Okay, look it up on the internet. How to put a degree button or whatever they call it. It's like a little offset, so it offsets your dowel pin, which offsets your cam, how many degrees, okay? That's the process with that. Now I'm done. Now I'm gonna go get me another cup of coffee, because 2 days later, messing around with this thing, trying to mess around different ways, I should have just did it the way it's supposed to be done. That's the way you do it, okay? It'll come out perfect. Get this wheel, it's a lot easier than the small wheels.
And when you degree in a camshaft, you're getting the maximum horsepower that
Right.
that cam offers.
Right. If you're off, retarded especially, then your low end power is bad. If you got more top end, if you're too advanced, you get too far, in the beginning of the horsepower range. So you want to put it where they tell you. Obviously, they spend God only knows gazillion dollars researching how their cam works the best. That's why you put it where they tell you. Okay, so that's why you go through this process. You could put it dot to dot and close your eyes and hope for the best. I mean, if it was a stock motor, hey, whatever. But when you're building something that you're looking for horsepower, or you need everything perfect, you need the degree to cam. All right? Go on to the next step when I get back. All right, so now that we got the cam degreed in, the reason I was trying to do it with the little wheel was this way I wouldn't have had to take a lot of this stuff off, but shortcuts usually don't work too well. So, I'm gonna put all my stuff back on, put this back on, get that situated, and then I'm gonna take this set of lifters back out. I'm gonna clean the surface of both sides, lubricate all the lifters, put all the lifters back in place, set them in. So on a small block Ford, conventional heads, on an 8.2 deck, you need to put the lifters in before you put the heads on, because there's not enough room to get them out. So you learn stuff the hard way when you first do it, but that I've known that for a while now, obviously. So you want to definitely make sure that you have all the lifters in place before you put the cylinder heads on. Once the cylinder heads are on, torque everything down. We're going to put one set of rockers on. We're going to check the length of the push rod again. Make sure that they're correct, which they should be fine. I'm going to set the lash. The lash is, I got to look at it. I think it was the same, so I'm pretty sure it was the same as the other cam, the lash wise. I usually set my lash cold, okay? So cold is always gonna be a little bit less, usually about 4 thousandths or so, less than hot. Expansion, blah, 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 all that stuff comes into play, okay? So if you set them cold, then you could check them when they're hot to verify that you're good, and then just always check them cold. So you're either always gonna check them cold or always gonna check them hot, okay? So I like checking them cold because after we come back and you get ready for the next race or something like that, or you're servicing the motor, changing the oil, it's usually cold. So just check them that way. As long as they're the same, then you're good to go. So you wanna just make sure that it's consistent, okay? And that they're all the same. With this Jezel setup that we got with the roller rockers, honestly, I don't think I've ever had to really change the setting. Nothing ever moved. They were really good as far as that. We set them the first time. We check them all the time. Make sure the spring pressure is good all the time. But as far as the lash goes, they never move. Okay, so, and if they do move, and you get one that moves and you correct it, put a little mark on it with a magic marker on it or something, or remember which one it was, because when you check it again, if it moved again, you got an issue. Either a roller rocker, the roller's going bad, or something's funky, okay, because they shouldn't move. They're gonna expand cold and hot, but they should all stay consistent, okay? So I'm gonna start putting all this stuff back together, put all the lifters in, lubricate everything, put all the lifters back in it, clean the surfaces when I'm done with that because it's gonna get a little messy. And then we're gonna do head gaskets, cylinder heads, and torque the cylinder heads. All right, I got this back together. Most of this stuff on this one, like I said, we had to make all this. Spacers and brackets and alternator brackets, we made all that stuff. So that's all done. I'm still at top dead center. I'm gonna do the lifters next. All right, lifters are all in. The lifters have a little tiny hole in them where the oil feeds through. So I made sure I pump a little bit into each one of those holes, lubricate the base, lubricate the wheel, load it up with that stuff. That stuff it'll cling to it till it starts running and it's good. So I'm gonna clean up these surfaces. And then once the surfaces are clean, I'm gonna put the head studs back in it. And then put the gaskets on it. All right, nice, dry and clean. Very important that they're dry and clean. I use MLS head gaskets. I'll show you those in a second. So the head studs, they're coarse thread. They have to go in a certain amount. They have this bullet, they call it, on the end of it, okay? All these holes are blind holes, so they don't go into the water jacket or nothing, so there's no lubricant, no sealant or nothing that goes on it. They just go in, and then they have a, they just go in snug. So you're not torquing them down, these just go in snug, okay? And then they get torqued with the nuts and the washers on top. So I'm gonna put all these in. Bottom ones have a little thing that you can Allen wrench them in. I'm gonna put all these together and then go to the next thing. All right, so last couple ones. Again, they thread right in until they stop. Make sure your dowel, your locating dowels for the cylinder heads are on there. Make sure they're on, everything's on there, right? Make sure that the cylinder head is dry. Again, just go over that one more time, make sure that's dry. And all I'm doing is I'm spraying some brake cleaner on a rag, dabbing it where I thought I might have touched something, make sure it's all dry, make sure nothing comes up on it. All right, and that's it with that. All right, those are all done, those are all in order. MLS gaskets. See if I can find a razor blade to open these up. Never mind, they got a package, so using MLS gaskets. One to a package. I'm glad I bought these a while ago because they're like everything else, they're freaking crazy. All right, so now these, well, they are multi-layer metal, 30 thousandths thick. Okay, it says front, so front up, right on it. Okay, they're gonna go right on there. Come on, right. Make sure they go down nice and square so you don't bend them or nothing. Okay, make sure they're on a dowel. Same thing with the other one. Now these, once you torque these, they're done. You can't go back and take them off and retorque them. That's the sucky part about it. And at 100-something bucks a piece, you're making it, make sure they're right. All right, so front, same thing. That's gonna go front here. Even though that's facing down, it still goes in the front, okay? And that's for water, which we don't run water anyway, but you still gotta put them on the right way. Okay? And when I say we don't run water, some of you guys don't understand what I mean. There's no coolant in the engine. Okay, we run alcohol, methanol, and the methanol basically cools the engine, and then that's why I got these fittings on here. You'll watch, if you haven't seen it already, we hook up a vacuum cleaner and suck air through it when we're done in between rounds. Okay, so now I got the head gaskets on it. Cylinder heads are all ready to go. Got a passenger side and a driver side because I got these studs made in here for the throttle linkage and the intake and all that stuff. So again, you got to remember, rockers are on. Lifters are on. This is the passenger side. Okay, got these two studs in it, and we put new springs already on here. So that's all good. And these just drop straight down onto the motor. You can line them up. Okay, they basically just slide down. Make sure they sit flush. Check the dowel for that. Coming along now, boys. Coming along now. Won't be long now. Okay, same thing with this side. This is the oil feed line. We were able to put that on without any issues. Okay, new springs. Let me make sure my phone's not dying. New springs. Everything's all nice and clean. Same thing. Drop it right on. Make sure that's all seated down there like that. See what I mean? That one's good. Okay. Now we're gonna go down and put all the head stud nuts and washers. Okay. All right, so I got this head just laying on here. This one, I'm gonna put the old gasket back on it. I'm gonna put the head on it. I'm gonna torque it down. And I'm gonna put putty in here. We're gonna run the motor around. We're gonna run the engine around. We're gonna do two things. We're gonna check for valve clearance on the intake and exhaust. And then we're gonna check our pushrod length. All right. The old gasket on it. You can't retorque those, so we're just doing a check on it. All right, so I'm gonna put this nuts, washers and nuts on it. I'm gonna torque them down real quick, and then we'll put 2 push rods in it, adjust it, run it through the cycle. Oh, I gotta put clay in it. Yeah, I gotta put clay in it, and then we could do that. Let me go get my silly putty. Just like a little Play-Doh, okay? And then you're gonna take a piece of that, roll it up. Okay. Got a bowl the size of a marble, and then it'll squish out, obviously. Put a little bit of oil on it so it don't stick to nothing, right? And that's gonna go. You're gonna put one there, like that. And then you're gonna get another one and you're gonna put it right there. Okay? Kind of mean looking face, right? All right, anyway, so you got 2 little things of Play-Doh. And now we're gonna put the cylinder head on it. And then we're gonna put the rockers on this 1 cylinder, push rods in the 1 cylinder, adjust the push rod, run the thing all the way around, and make sure nothing hits. And then we'll take it back off and measure how thick we got left over. That's your clearance. All right, we got the head on. These push rods are going to be short. Let me get all my washers and my bolts on. All right, so get the head torqued down. Like I said, I can't use the old. Yeah, the push rods are going to have to be longer. Figures. Just make sure. All right, center them up. No, maybe not. All right, so these get tightened down. Okay. This gets tightened down. This gets tightened down. Just gonna snug everything up. These all get torqued later, so. All right, not too bad, not too bad. All right, might not have to do push rods. Let me check the clearance on it real quick. So, it was 14 cold before. So, if it's close to that, we're still good. That's 14. Alright, that looks like it's about 16. This is 18. So it's like 18. Okay, this one's a little looser than that one, but it's like 8. Could be anything in there. Alright, so yeah. So we're gonna go with 18. A nice smooth 18, right? So they need to be 14. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna crack that loose. And then make sure I'm gonna make it 14, right? So now we know it's 14. I'm gonna make sure I got enough adjustment, okay? Because if it goes down too much, then the push rods are too short. And if we're getting longer push rods, we're gonna go to the next size up, which we're probably gonna do that anyway, but I'm gonna find out right now. All right, so gotta go get that and this 7/16. All right. Oh baby, yeah, they're tight. All right. That. Okay. Okay. So now I'm looking for 14. All right. Back the nut off. Back the nut off. Gonna go for 14 and see if we can do it. Oh yeah, no problem. All right. All right, so no problem getting 14 out of it. Okay, so I'm just gonna snug that up. Snug that up. And now, remember the putty's in there. The valves are gonna open, right? So I'm gonna run it through 2 complete cycles, intake and exhaust. You'll watch the valves open and close. And then from there, dismantle everything, take the head off, and then we'll measure. So here we go. It was on top dead center. That's one right there. That's the exhaust coming up. It's still going around, so I guess nothing binding. That's nice. I would suggest you do it with checker springs. You could check them by hand first. Okay. I know this clears because it's got the same reliefs as it did before. The cam is a little bigger, so, but I know I had a lot of clearance before. So here comes the intake, same thing, okay? All the way up, all the way back down, bring it back to top dead center, and right there. Okay, let me take all this apart, and we'll take the head off and I'll show you what it looks like. All right. There's the putty. I forgot to put a little oil on the head. There's the putty. Okay, so it looks like that. That's where the valve touched it, right? And then you're gonna take a dial caliper and you're gonna cut this in half so that you could see down the middle of it. All right. Let's see. How can I show this to you? Okay, let's do it this way. Hold on. Let me get you on the table here. All right, so we got that. This is the exhaust. We're just gonna slice it in half. And you see what it looks like, right? So now you're measuring the smallest spot, which is right there. Got 115 thousandths. That's the exhaust. Do the same thing with the intake. Cut it down the middle. This one's got even more. So this one's got 190 thousandths. Okay? So, like I said, plenty of clearance on the exhaust and the intake valve. So the valve and the intake are good, right? You know, it didn't hit nothing. We know the push rod length is good. I'm gonna call Trend up and see what they got for a bigger push rod that's still gonna fit in the hole, because that's the weak point. You don't want no weak point. All right, but I needed to put the heads and everything on to check that. There's no way to check it unless the engine's together. And unfortunately, with all the crap, now I have finally got it together. So now what I'm gonna do is I can take this gasket back off, make sure all these are snug, clean everything off again. That side's together. We already put that side. I had both of them on, but I wanted to make sure of this, which I kind of knew that it was. I was definitely going to check the push rods, so I could have did that, but I wanted to make sure the valve to piston was good, show you how that's done. So that's done. Put the head back on, and then I'm going to make a decision about getting push rods. All right, so there you have it. This is the end of this part. I know these videos are long. Hope you're getting something out of it. Trust me, I'm more antsy to get it back together than all you guys are. So everybody asking, I got that other phone call that you just heard a little while ago. Is my other friend, did you get it back together yet? We going to the track. So got 3 of those phone calls today. So just so you guys know, I got to get the thing back together. Then I got to put it in the car, start it up. Then we got to make an appointment and get up to Rob as soon as we could for him to tune it. So we're still good in the window, but it's taking longer than I really wanted. But again, you know what? It takes time to do stuff like this. And think about what I'm doing, and you guys are gonna have an engine built by somebody, how long it takes. So an engine builder is worth every penny, because they gotta do everything that I just did, and then they're gonna warranty it or guarantee it that it runs good. I'm doing this myself. Unfortunately, I like doing it, I like doing it myself. This way I know it's done. I don't have to, I can't blame nobody for nothing, okay? Because if it messes up, it's my fault. But that's how I like doing it. All right, so next video, the heads will be back on, and then you'll see what I'm doing as far as push rods.